When did Bryce Harper stop being baseball's ultimate villain, honestly? Like, when did the hair flip turn into dad mode energy? You remember the kid who blew kisses after crushing your team? Yeah, that guy used to feel like pure baseball chaos. Now he's hugging kids and talking about family values. And somehow people are asking if he lost his edge. That's the weirdest part of this entire Bryce Harper evolution. Because dominance didn't disappear, it just changed personality. But fans don't always respect transformation. They fear it. They want chaos, not maturity, especially in superstars. So let's rewind to when Harper was baseball's problem child. Teen prodigy, Sports Illustrated cover before he could legally drink. That flips that felt like middle fingers to the entire league. Clashing with veterans like he was born for conflict. He wasn't just good, he was aggressively good. The type of player pitchers wanted to hit, not face. And fans, they either loved him or absolutely hated him. There was no middle ground with Bryce Harper. That's what made him feel dangerous and addictive. Baseball needed a villain, and he volunteered immediately. Then came the MVP seasons, the tape measure bombs, the kind of power that made stadiums feel too small. He wasn't just flashy, he backed it up consistently. Numbers that forced even haters to shut up briefly. And yet, something always felt unfinished with him. Like the story was building towards something bigger. Because talent alone never defines a legacy in baseball. It's October, it's pressure, it's narrative. And that's where things started getting complicated. Because Harper wasn't always delivering in the biggest moments. And fans started whispering, then shouting louder. Is he all show, no ultimate payoff? That's when the narrative shifted from villain to question mark. And then came the move, Philadelphia, a city that eats personalities and spits out legends, or completely destroys them if they're not built right. At first, it felt like chaos meeting chaos. Perfect fit, right? Villain in a villain city. Except something weird started happening. Harper wasn't just loud anymore. He was leading. Less arrogance, more responsibility creeping into his game. And fans didn't know how to process that. Because villains aren't supposed to grow up. They're supposed to stay chaotic forever. But life doesn't work like highlight reels. Marriage, kids, responsibilities, perspective. All the things that slowly sand down your edges. And suddenly the bad boy becomes something else. Not softer, just different. And that difference is where the conflict begins. Because fans confuse maturity with losing fire. They think calm means less dangerous. But Harper was quietly becoming more complete. Better plate discipline, smarter swings, leadership presence. He wasn't louder, he was sharper. Yet the internet doesn't reward subtle growth. It rewards chaos, drama, and highlight-worthy arrogance. So people started saying he lost his aura, lost that don't care energy that made him feared. But here's the twist nobody wants to admit. He didn't lose it, he learned how to control it. And that's way more dangerous than being reckless. Because now it only shows up when it matters. October moments, clutch swings, controlled explosions. That's a different kind of villain. The one that doesn't talk, just ends you. And then came the postseason runs. The swings that actually meant something this time. Crowd shaking, pitchers sweating, narratives flipping. This wasn't hype anymore. This was payoff. And suddenly people remembered why he mattered. But even then, something felt different. The celebration wasn't cocky, it was emotional. More gratitude, less arrogance. And that's when the identity crisis hit full force. Is Bryce Harper still that guy? Or did he become something completely different? Because fans love villains more than heroes. Heroes are predictable, villains are entertaining. And Harper stopped being predictable chaos. He became calculated intensity, which is harder to meme, harder to hate, but way harder to beat. Then the World Baseball Classic moments came. Big stage, national pride, emotional weight, and Harper shows up with controlled fire. Not screaming, not taunting, just delivering. A different version of dominance. And that's when fans started missing the old him. Because nostalgia is a powerful drug. They remembered the chaos, not the inconsistency. They missed the attitude, not the flaws. And suddenly, family man became an insult. Like growing up is somehow losing your edge. Which is honestly ridiculous when you think about it. Because the best athletes evolve or disappear. And Harper chose evolution. That's not soft. That's survival. That's extending greatness instead of burning out. But evolution always comes with a cost. You lose the version people fell in love with, even if you become something better. And that's the real tragedy of growth. People don't celebrate it, they question it. So now Harper lives in this weird space. Too mature to be hated, too intense to be boring. A reformed villain still capable of destruction. And maybe that's harder to understand because humans love simple narratives. Hero or villain, nothing in between. But Harper became both at the same time. And that breaks people's brains. So they simplify it. He lost his edge. Even when the results say otherwise. Even when pitchers still fear him. Even when October moments keep stacking. Because perception is louder than reality. And nostalgia is louder than growth. So what's the truth about Bryce Harper now? Did the bad boy really disappear? Or did he just grow up without losing the fire? Because those are two very different things. And most fans don't bother separating them. They just react to what feels different. And different feels like decline, even when it's actually evolution. That's the irony of this entire story. Harper became better, but less entertaining for some. And in sports, entertainment matters just as much. So the question lingers. Would you rather have chaos or consistency? The loud villain or the quiet killer? Because Bryce Harper can't be both forever. Or maybe he already is, just in a way we're not used to. And that's the uncomfortable truth. Growth doesn't always look exciting. Sometimes it looks like losing your edge until you realize the edge never left. It just got sharper, quieter, and more precise. So maybe the real question isn't about Harper. Maybe it's about us. Why do we hate when athletes grow up? Why do we miss the flawed version more? Is it because chaos is easier to understand? Or because growth reminds us of our own changes? And maybe we're not ready for that. Because if Bryce Harper didn't lose his edge, then maybe nobody ever really does. They just learn when to use it. Because deep down, we all fear becoming boring. We associate growth with losing what made us special, just like fans think happened to Bryce Harper. But what if that's completely backwards? What if the real danger comes after the chaos fades? When everything becomes intentional instead of emotional? Because that version doesn't need attention. It just shows up and destroys you quietly. And maybe that's what Harper became. A player who doesn't need to prove anything anymore. Which is ironically when players become the most dangerous. No ego battles, no forced moments, just execution. But that doesn't go viral. No one clips maturity and posts it online. They clip bat flips, stares, chaos. So naturally, people think it disappeared, when really, it just stopped performing for cameras. That's the illusion we fall for every time. Entertainment value replacing actual dominance. And Harper sits right in that uncomfortable middle. Still elite, but no longer chaotic enough. Still intense, but not reckless. And that confuses fans more than failure ever could. Because failure is easy to understand. You either choke or you don't. But evolution, that's messy. It doesn't fit into simple narratives. And sports media hates complicated stories. So they simplify it into he changed. As if change automatically means decline. Meanwhile, pitchers still treat him like a nightmare. Still pitching around him, still avoiding mistakes. Because they know something fans don't. That controlled Harper is scarier than reckless Harper. And that's the part nobody wants to admit. We don't actually want the best version. We want the most entertaining version, even if it's less effective, even if it costs championships. Because sports are part performance, part results. And Harper shifted toward results. Less show, more substance. Which ironically makes him harder to market emotionally. But easier to trust when everything's on the line. And maybe that's the final twist. The bad boy didn't disappear. He matured. The fire didn't fade. It focused. And the chaos didn't die. It evolved. So the real question isn't, did he lose his edge? It's whether we ever understood it in the first place.